Let me take you back to the blissful days of my 20s and early 30s. Back then, I judged myself using two really unhelpful metrics: how much I earned and how much credit I had access to. I genuinely thought that having a huge credit limit meant I was doing well. It felt grown up, powerful, and honestly, like I was making it. When I was growing up, money always felt kind of scarce. So when someone offered me a shiny new 0% interest credit card with a big credit limit on it, I saw it as proof I was finally becoming successful. Except, of course, I wasn't. For years, I rotated through a cycle of zero interest cards, short-term loans, paying off one balance with another, trying to fund university, law school, and eventually the lifestyle of a young professional trying desperately to look the part. I lived in a constant state of I'm fine on the outside and I'm on the edge of drowning on the inside. What I've come to learn is that it's impossible to build a future and your life after enough when all of your energy is going into paying for your past. It wasn't until I paid off my student loans and cleared the consumer debt that everything changed. Within a couple of years, I had my first real chunk of FU money. And that quite literally was the thing that gave me the confidence to quit my corporate job in 2016 and try and embark on a totally new life direction. Debt didn't just cost me money in interest payments, it cost me time, energy, options, and confidence. So today we're talking about the D word with no judgment, just honesty, clarity, and a plan. You've built the career, you're building the portfolio, you're close to freedom. So what now? Welcome to Life After Enough. Money, meaning, and the life you design when work becomes optional. I'm Nick. I'm racing towards early retirement and figuring out who I become when the job no longer dictates what I do with my time. Let's get into it. I think it's universal to say that debt is emotionally loaded. It's wrapped in shame and secrecy, fear and embarrassment, all the things that make people avoid dealing with it. But debt isn't itself evil. It's a tool. A useful tool when used intentionally, but a dangerous one when it's used reactively. Mortgages, student loans, business financing, this type of debt can help you build a good life. But consumer debt, things like credit cards and personal loans, buy now, pay later, and lifestyle inflation debt, that's the trap. It's so easy to fall into the debt trap because it feels so easy to do at first. It's convenient, painless, and invisible. Until suddenly, one day, it isn't. This episode is about reclaiming control, financially, emotionally, and practically, to give you the roadmap to get out of the debt cycle so that freedom can work its magic and creep into your life again. Most people think their debt problem is a maths problem, but it really isn't. Debt is a psychological problem. It's about the shame of admitting you're stuck, the fear of opening the statements, the belief that I've messed up, and the way we use spending to self-soothe and project an image of success. Debt messes with your identity. You start seeing yourself as being bad with money, but the truth is that modern life is designed to push you into borrowing. Banks literally make billions betting that you'll slip. So if you're in debt, hear this clearly. You're not a failure, you're just human, and you can fix it. The moment you shift from shame to awareness, the entire game changes. So let's slow this down and really look at how the debt spiral actually forms, because almost nobody ends up in debt from one dramatic mistake. It's usually a series of tiny, socially normal decisions that quietly turn into a trap. Debt is slow, it's sneaky, and is incremental. It starts with, just put it on the card. It's 0% APR, so it's basically free. I'll pay next month, no big deal. Every one of those sentences feels true in the moment, and all might be well, until something unexpected happens. A redundancy, a burnout, unexpected medical bills, even a breakup, or just lifestyle creep that sneaks up on you. Suddenly, that I'll pay it off next month becomes I'll pay it off when things calm down. But then things don't calm down, and the debt starts to grow, month by month. And the part that tends to be forgotten is that almost every balance transfer comes with a fee. Something like 2 to 5%, possibly even more, of the amount transferred. So when you move debt from one card to another for free, you're actually just adding more to the balance, kicking the can down the line, and psychologically detaching yourself from the true cost. It's like you're lulling your brain into thinking you're solving the problem when actually you're just extending it. Then, inevitably, the promotional period ends, and the debt avalanche begins. Those 0% cards become more like 22, 28, even 30% APR instead. And perhaps this time, the trick stops working. Those little life events stack up, your balance creeps higher, and suddenly the bank doesn't approve the next 0% card. Or the credit limit they give you isn't enough to cover the transfer. And that's the moment most people feel the floor drop. The old escape hatch has closed and the interest starts to compound faster than most people realize. This is exactly how incredibly smart, incredibly capable adults, people doing everything right, end up trapped. It applies equally to the doctor earning $200,000 a year and to waiters earning $20,000. Debt doesn't discriminate. It exploits pressure points. The entire system is engineered to work exactly this way. Banks want your attention elsewhere. They want you to feel like it's fine. They want you to be optimistic about sorting it next month, because the longer you stay optimistic, the longer they get to charge interest. And that's the spiral. Recognize it in your own patterns of behavior is step one. Interrupting it is step two. And that's what the rest of this episode is about. Okay, here's the point where we stop being polite about it. This is the line in the sand moment. Debt, especially consumer debt, is not neutral. It uses your time, energy, and freedom. It curtails your ability to say yes to opportunities. It absorbs your emotional bandwidth, and it steals your ability to invest and build a future. Debt interest is your future self being forced to clean up the mess your past self left behind. Every month you carry that balance, future you is out there, older, more tired, and with fewer years of freedom left, working to pay for things you barely even remember buying. That is unacceptable. So do yourself a favor and stop treating consumer debt as normal, as just part of life, and as something that everyone has. It's not. It's an emergency and a financial house fire. Every month you ignore it, the flames will just spread even further. Look, don't take this as a direct attack. I'm being harsh on purpose to get my point across. What's done is done. But once you see debt for what it truly is, this tax on your time and your choices and your future, continuing on the same path stops feeling harmless and starts feeling ridiculous. If your plan is, I'll fix it eventually, let me save you some time. Eventually never arrives. Today is the day. Quick pause. If this episode is sparking something for you, hit follow so you don't miss what's coming next. Feel free to share it with someone who'd love it too. It really helps the show to grow. Okay, phew. Now that we're on the same page, before we talk about your debt rescue plan, we need to just talk about stability for a moment. Dave Ramsey has one thing absolutely right. You need a buffer. A tiny one, but a very, very sacred one. Something in the region of $1,000 to $2,000 in cash. Something that's accessible, boring, and liquid. This is not investing money. This is not grow your wealth money. Instead, this is don't let my life collapse again money. Why does it matter? Well, because without this tiny buffer, every small disruption will detonate your progress, and you'll be right where you started again, probably in a worse position. You're trying to climb out of a hole, but the moment life throws anything at you, the ground gives way again. So where should this buffer live? It's important that it's somewhere boring, like an instant access savings account or even an envelope at home stuffed away somewhere. Just bear in mind, this is an emergency buffer. It's not to pay for holidays or a night out or for treating yourself. This money is sacred. Think of it as your seatbelt and your oxygen mask. With this in place, life's next curveball becomes just an inconvenience instead of a crisis. And this really matters because without it, every attempt to get out of debt collapses the moment real life happens. This is your stability layer. Only when this small, sacred buffer is sitting safely in place, then, and only then, can you start aggressively attacking your debt balances. This section is the heart of the episode. It's practical, structured, and designed to help you build a plan today to get you out of debt tomorrow. So let's begin. Step 1. Know every number. No hiding. You need to list every single debt that you have. Credit cards, personal loans, buy now, pay later, overdrafts, student loans, car loans. For each one, write down the remaining balance, the interest rate, and what the minimum payment is. Don't worry if this feels daunting. It's quite normal to feel that when you first see it all written down in one place. But remember, you can't fix what you refuse to look at. Step 2. Building the spending picture. Debt repayment doesn't exist in a vacuum. If you want out, you've got to understand why the debt formed for you and where your money is actually going. So before you start planning repayments, you need a clear picture of 3 things. Number 1 is your fixed essentials, things like rent, utilities, transport, and insurance. Then you need your variable spending, things like groceries, eating out, lifestyle. And then 3, what your exact income is each month. From those 3 numbers, you can get to the most important number in your financial life, your gap. This is the amount available to throw at debt every month and is the difference between the fixed and variable spending and your income. What this spending picture shows is just as important as the number itself. When you lay it all out, one of 3 stories usually appears. The first is the habit story. This is where you realize you're not drowning because of one catastrophic decision. You're drowning because of death by 1,000 swipes, impulse purchases, convenience food, Amazon shopping, subscriptions you forgot existed. This is habit debt, and it's the easiest one to fix because once you shine a light on it, the pattern of behavior becomes super obvious. The second story that might pop up is the keeping up story. It's when your spending starts drifting beyond what your income can support, but because you're socially calibrated to do so. You're mirroring the people around you. It's because humans don't just spend money. We spend to belong. We spend to maintain the identity we think others expect from us. So maybe you're always saying yes to the weekend trips, to the dinners that cost more than your weekly food shop, to the splitting the bill evenly, even though you only ordered 1 drink, to the holidays that you can't afford, but everyone else is going. And in all of these cases, you don't want to be the one who says, actually, that's not in my budget. This is the keeping up story, the pressure to match the lifestyle of your peers, even when your finances are in a completely different space. And if this is the spending story showing up in your life, you can then start choosing intentionally. You can stay connected to your friends without financially setting yourself on fire to match their pace. The third story is a little harder. It's the structural story. This one hurts, but is real. Sometimes the numbers show you're not overspending at all. You're simply living a life that costs more than your income can support. Your essentials, the rent, transport, kids, healthcare, eat so much of your salary that there actually is no gap. No amount of budgeting can fix a structurally unsustainable life. Only more income can. So why does this step matter so much? It matters to look through your spending with this lens, because once you see which story you're living, everything becomes clearer. If your debt story is habit debt, well, it can be fixed with awareness and systems. If it's lifestyle creep debt, that can be fixed with boundaries and identity work. If it's structural debt, that needs courage and strategic change to reduce those structural deficits or increase your income. Step 3. Choose a debt repayment strategy that works for you. When it comes to paying off debt, there are 2 classic approaches, and both work super well. It's important to choose the method that just works for you psychologically. In both approaches, you always make the minimum payment required, and then, with any excess that you have and that you can throw at your debt, you've got a choice. If you follow the avalanche method, then under this approach, you attack the debt with the highest interest rate first. Mathematically, it's the cheapest and fastest way to become debt-free. You'll pay less interest overall, and your balances collapse quicker on paper. The avalanche approach works best for people who think in spreadsheets, don't need quick emotional wins, can separate emotion from the numbers, and who can feel calm when the maths make sense. This approach is for people who stay motivated by the strategy itself, not by the speed of the wins. The alternative approach is called the snowball method. In this method, you attack the smallest balance first. Emotionally, it's unbeatable because you get quick wins. You clear a debt early, you feel a hit of progress, and then that momentum carries you through the harder months. The snowball strategy works best for people who need early wins to stay motivated, who feel overwhelmed easily, who carry shame or fear around debt, who've struggled with consistency in the past, and who are in a high-stress season of life. The snowball approach is for people who stay motivated by feeling progress, not just calculating it on paper. Step 4. The 3-year freedom window. This is the moment things actually change. A really great goal to set yourself is to have all consumer debt gone within 36 months of today. A tight, aggressive, life-changing window. So go do the math and work out the payments needed to clear the debt using your current spending gap we calculated earlier. Following that, if your gap doesn't give you a 3-year payoff runway, you can pull one of 2 levers, ideally both. The first lever is to increase income. This is the lever most people avoid, yet it's also the fastest path out, especially if your debt comes from structural overspending, housing, transport, fixed commitments you can't shrink overnight. More income can help you solve everything. So what can you do? Things like overtime at work, starting a small side gig, doing freelance work, maybe taking a temporary second job, asking for a raise at work, or switching to a better paid role. Every extra dollar can then go directly to your debt, following the snowball or avalanche method, setting yourself up for a better future. Remember, this is an emergency situation, so every dollar counts. The second lever is to cut expenses. If your spending problem is driven by consumerist overspending, convenience purchases, keeping up with your friends, social mirroring, and emotional spending, then the solution is immediate. Just pull back your spending intentionally until you get your debt under control. So why does the 36-month debt sprint matter? What's its superpower? I think it's the right amount of time to create permanent change. It's long enough to tackle debt, even larger sums of money, without being too long to feel like it will never end. It will certainly be a challenge, but challenge is good. After you pay off your debt, the interest stops eating your future. You unlock the ability to invest, to invite freedom into your life. Your sense of control returns, optionality comes back online, and then the biggest one, the identity shift happens. I'll just pause there to say that if after cutting back intelligently, restructuring your spending and trying to do your very best to increase income, if you still can't reach a workable plan, that's the time for professional help. Don't think of this as failure. This is you taking control and being honest with the situation you're in. Debt charities, financial counselors, restructuring plans all exist for a reason. You deserve relief and not punishment. So, having gone through that big exercise, you might start to realize that psychological freedom starts earlier than financial freedom. You don't need to be out of debt to start feeling it. Freedom will start the moment you stop hiding from the numbers, build a plan that actually works for you, see the balances going down every month, and when you create a life where you're no longer adding new debt. The momentum is intoxicating. Progress is liberating. Debt freedom isn't just a financial transformation, it's an identity transformation. You go from, I'm bad with money, to, I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. And that shift is everything. So if you're listening to this episode and you're in debt, I want you to know that debt is solvable, one way or another, and often faster than you think. And the person you become while paying it down is far more important than the number on the final statement. So here's your little nudge. Open the statements, write down the numbers, build the plan. Start the momentum today. You're closer to freedom than you think. And this step, this work, and this plan, well, it's the doorway into the rest of your life. Thanks for listening to Life After Enough. a podcast about money, meaning, and the life you design when work becomes optional. If this episode made you rethink your future, share it with someone who's starting to question the script too. You can follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Nick, and I'll see you next week as we keep building a life that's truly ours.